And good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Flagler Weather Update. Today is the 14th of September, 2025, and that makes this today Sunday. And we're going to go ahead and get into our weather, and some pretty significant changes have happened here. And so we're going to see a variety of weather in the week ahead. Good news is there's no threats out of the tropics right now. We'll talk more about that in just a little bit. And a little nor'easter we had and tidal flooding and such, we may actually be starting to see some of that wind down, at least for now. It could come back later on, sadly. But looking at our satellite imagery, you see a fair amount of drier air that has made its way in, which is why you do not, we skipped out the showers and storms today, except for that quick one in the morning. And some drier air is filtering in, and that's going to be our main weather player as we go through the first part of the week. But way down here, there's a front, and as we get into the end of the week, that front's going to start gravitating back to the north, and along with it, a lot of moisture. So we are going to see changes as we get towards the end of the week. First, let's talk tropics. So right now, the National Hurricane Center does have one area of concern that they are monitoring. There is a 70% chance of this tropical disturbance getting organized and becoming a tropical cyclone. What does that mean? It means it could be a tropical depression, tropical storm, something along those lines. So right now, we're saying with the latest update, the tropical wave over the eastern tropical Atlantic is producing a large area of disorganized showers and thunderstorms. Dry and stable air is expected to limit development next day or so. Gradual development is anticipated thereafter, and a tropical depression is likely to form in the middle or latter part of this week as the system moves west-northwest at 10 to 15 miles an hour over the tropical Atlantic. Now, at this point, it's just too early to know if this is going to have any effect on the east coast of the United States, let alone Florida. Historically, a lot of systems that get up here have a tendency to recurve, but not every single one does. So even though there's no concerns with this right now, it's always a good idea to stay informed of what's going on with the tropics in case something weird happens. And of course, we'll be posting updates about this system as we get them from the National Hurricane Center. And keep in mind that things can change either way. We were watching one of these about 3 or 4 days ago, maybe last week, where it looked really promising, and then inside of a couple days it faded away. So sometimes that can happen as well. Sometimes things can develop very rapidly too, and unexpectedly. So again, it's always a good idea to stay informed with the tropics. Going further into the future with the tropics, this takes us to the end of September. We are looking at maybe about a 40% chance of tropical development off the coast of Africa from the anywhere between the 17th and 23rd of September. So that's about a 40% chance or so of something getting going out there. There's no system or anything out there right now, but this is what the Climate Prediction Center, looking at their long-range models and such, this is what they think something is going to try to spin up. There's also a very low chance of something that's going to try to get going in the Western Caribbean or maybe the Southern Gulf in that same time frame. But these stripe lines mean it's about a 20% chance of that, so very minimal chance. And as we get into the end of September, again, we're not looking in too bad a shape, but we do have two areas at the National Hurricane Center we'll be watching as we go through the last few weeks of September. Again, Central Tropical Atlantic and Western Caribbean, Southern and Central Gulf. And this is kind of normal for this time of year. So nothing there to get excited about right now. So let's take a closer look at local hazards and concerns from the National Weather Service. So rip currents is a main thing that they are watching right now. Rip current risk is high at all beaches. Surf temperature is about 83 degrees if you're going to venture out there. Surf 4 to 6 feet all northeast Florida beaches, and small craft advisory for the Atlantic waters. Now today and into tomorrow we might see a little bit of tidal flooding. There are times of high tide in the intercoastal waterway, and those higher waters may persist in the St. Johns River Basin. That includes Dead Lake, that includes Crescent Lake, that includes Haw Creek. And our thunderstorm chances start to increase as we get into the latter part of the week. Now let's talk about this coastal flood advisory. Right now this is in place through Monday, and they could extend it if the waters don't drain out as quickly. So why do we have this? Those onshore winds basically push the water into the intercoastal waterway. Then those onshore winds don't let that intercoastal drain out. So that combined with the little bit higher tides that we get this time of year, is the recipe for causing the nuisance flooding. So again, if you live in one of those really low-lying areas, South 23rd Street and Flagler Beach, notorious for nuisance flooding, places like that, you might still be dealing with it a little bit as we go through the rest of at least the next day or two. And again, gusty winds throughout the day. Could see the gusts up to 35, but that should be settling down. And again, the tropics, we just talked about that just a few moments ago. And again, always a good idea to keep your supply kits stocked, review your emergency plan, and know if you live in an evacuation zone. So let's talk about the flooding right now. Where are we seeing that, and where are the concerns? So these are the flood gauges. You can get to this from the National Weather Service Jacksonville website. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you guys how to do that. So let's back up a little bit. It's back up a little bit more. Sorry. There we go. One more click. So this is the National Weather Service Jacksonville website, weather.gov/jax. Go look for rivers and lakes and then find his new NWPS, NWIPS they call it. So that'll bring us right into this area here. So you can zoom in on Flagler County. So let's look at these gauges. So this way you can go look at these anytime you want. So let's look at these gauges. We'll talk about the first one up here, Palisade Creek at the North County line. So it's been flirting with the minor flood stage. It looks like it's generally stable at this moment. We're not really seeing any increase or decrease right now, maybe a few higher tides. As we go further down the coast, let's go to Bing's Landing. Now, if you live in Flagler Beach, Bing's Landing is one you really want to watch because whatever tide, peaks, when it peaks, your high tide is about 3 hours after this peaks. So right now we just came out of a peak. We just barely tapped moderate flood stage, and it's usually when we start to see that nuisance flooding in Flagler Beach when we get into the moderate flood stage. We had a little bit of a peak of it yesterday. So right now we are below 2 feet, and we're starting to trend back down again. So it was trending down a little bit, then it started going back up. So it is trending downward, at least right now, or perhaps stabilized. We'll have to watch and see what it does in the days ahead. With that front coming back up, I was talking about earlier, with that front coming back northward, it could bring us some gusty northeast winds by the end of the week, and it could bring these tide levels back up. Now, let's go ahead and go to Bulow Creek. How are they doing down there? Well, it did flirt with moderate, but now it's kind of looks like there was a secondary peak, but it looks like things are starting to settle down a little bit. Still in minor flood stage down there. Out on the west side of the county, let's go to Haw Creek. And we did get into major flood stage for a little bit, but now we're trending downward. We're in moderate flood stage now. So places like Russell Landing, Dead Lake, Bull Creek, places like that, are going to still have some water on them, but that water will be decreasing, at least the way it looks right now. But it's going to be very slow to do that because, remember, the St. Johns River is draining out, and that impacts how quickly that drains. So our last gauge is out here at Shell Bluff on Crescent Lake, and that is peaked up a little bit. It looks like it's kind of stabilized right now. I don't really see, it looks like there might be a little bit of a drop there, but it looks like it's kind of about stable at this point right now, and there's no river forecast available off of this, so you just got to kind of watch the trends. But we're up in the minor flood stage. It looks like it's kind of holding steady there for right now. See if I can grab any other things downstream in the St. John's here. So this is Astor, St. John's, and the forecast here is for the water level to stay normal. I mean, not normal rather, but just right at the top of the minor, bottom of the moderate flood stage. So it looks like, at least for the next few hours or so, it looks like that this is going to stay stable, and that's going to have an impact on everything downstream there. So all in all, nothing much has changed, maybe just slight improvement, but things have stabilized. Things aren't getting worse with the flooding out there right now. And again, if you live in Flagler Beach, Bing's Landing, this is the one you want to watch. And again, anything that peaks here takes about 3 hours to get down to Flagler Beach. So this is a good one to watch right here. All right, let's go ahead and talk about weather. So we have this front to the south of us, been giving some unsettled weather over SoFlo and the Keys. Tomorrow, that front kind of still hangs out. And maybe a few showers over by us, but largely dry. And then that front still stays south of us by Tuesday. However, when we get to Wednesday, Thursday, this front's going to start gravitating back to the north. And with it is going to bring some unsettled weather. So the next few days are going to be rather pleasant. Big high pressure system giving us some drier air, but things are going to be changing. So let's talk about temperatures. How warm is it going to get? Well, let's start with cool temperatures tonight. Tonight, look at this, folks. 60s. Yes, you're seeing that correctly. 65 degrees, Bunnell. 65, Espanola. 67 in Palm Coast. Now, at the beaches, it's going to be a little warmer there. So we're talking about 74 Beverly Beach. 74 Flagler Beach. 69, sorry, grow up, BP. 69 at Marineland. 66 at Cody's Corner. 62 out here in Andalusia. So out here in the Mondex, you're probably going to be 62, 63. That's actually 63 there. So down in the 60s tonight. It's going to be feeling quite cool. You might be able to pop your windows open. Tomorrow, pleasantly warm. Mid-80s inland, lower 80s beaches. With still the east wind. We'll look at the winds here in a little bit. Tomorrow night, temperatures moderate a little bit. Mid to upper 60s inland, lower to mid 70s. Closer you get to the coast, the warmer it is. Tuesday, again, kind of the same. Tuesday night, still kind of the same. Not seeing any big changes in the temperatures. Wednesday, maybe a little bit warmer now. We're starting to edge up into the mid to upper 80s inland, mid 80s beaches. As we get into Wednesday night, Thursday morning, ticking up slightly now. Lows generally in the 70s countywide, maybe some upper 60s inland. And as we go further into the future, let's go into Friday. Things warm up a little bit more now. Chill generally mid to upper 80s. And then we're now solidly in the 70s for lows by Saturday, Friday night, Saturday morning. And then Saturday, ticking up a little bit more, mid to upper 80s. Lower readings at the beaches, and Saturday night, Sunday morning in the 70s. So look for a little bit of a cool spell at the beginning of the week, and then some warming towards the end of the week, but nothing extreme. Heat index numbers, we don't have any significant now. Maybe by the end of the week, we're getting into the 90s on the heat index there. And by Saturday, heat index is in the mid 90s, but nothing like it was a few weeks ago. So we're not looking at too bad there. How about rain? What are the chances of rain? Is it going to rain? So tonight, there's a 12% chance along the coast. That's because there's a risk of the odd coastal shower blowing in. Tomorrow, very minimal chances. About a 15% chance of the odd shower. It just means someplace it could be a quickie shower that moves through. And tomorrow night, 0 chances. Tuesday, very minimal chances, 10% chance or less, largely staying dry. Wednesday, the same thing. As we get into Thursday, rain chances start to bump back up. Remember, I was telling you that front's going to start coming back to the north. So maybe about a 20 to 30% chance. We'll have to watch to see if the National Weather Service increases those numbers. And then as we get into Friday, we're talking about a 30% chance of showers and storms. And as we get into Saturday, now we're getting into about 50% chance of showers and thunderstorms. Again, these numbers might get tweaked as the forecast gets adjusted as we go further. Remember, the 7 days out is not super accurate, so there'll probably be some changes with that. Rainfall amounts, how much rain we're going to see in the next 7 days. Maybe inch and a half, maybe 2 at the beaches. Again, that risk of heavy coastal showers returning at the end of the week, at least the way the forecast stands right now. Let's talk about wind. Are we going to see any strong wind gusts here? Let's talk about that. So we're looking at, for tomorrow, we're looking at maybe gust up to 30 miles an hour at the beaches, less wind inland. So still tomorrow looks to be a rather breezy day. Again, gusting up to 30, maybe even a little bit better than that. And then as we go into, let's see here, Tuesday, still rather breezy, but not as much, like gusts into the 20s at the coast, lesser winds as you go inland. And as we get into, skipped ahead a little bit, Wednesday, gusting up to about 20. So Wednesday looks to settle down quite a bit. Thursday, about the same, gusting up to 20 at the beaches. Friday, gusting up to the mid-20s or so. And as we get into Saturday, gusting into the mid-20s or so. So we don't really see any significant winds coming into the picture. But it will be breezier at the beaches all the same. So let's talk about the long range forecast. What's going to be happening in the longer range? So this takes us up to from the 20th of September to the 24th of September. Temperature wise, about a 48% chance of temperatures above normal. Precipitation, we are looking at about a almost an equal chance of above or below normal precipitation, but just edging out. So just an ever so slight chance of above normal precipitation in this time frame. Going further on, let's take us to the end of September, 22nd to the 28th of September, and look for a 53% chance of above normal temperatures and precipitation outlook. About equal chances either above or below normal precipitation for the end of September. And of course, this will get adjusted as days go on. So, folks, that's going to wrap things up with the weather. Thank you for tuning in. Looks like to be just in summary, it looks like that up to about Wednesday, it looks to be dry. Maybe a little fresher feel to the air because it's drier air, but you're still going to feel that humidity, but not as potent as as of late. And you can expect maybe some patchy fog late at night. That could also be a thing with those cooler temperatures. Lows in the 60s inland, 70s beaches, highs in the 80s pretty much county-wide. That sticks with us to about Wednesday. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and of course the weekend, we start to see the rain chances coming back up. Doesn't mean it's going to rain the entire time. Just means that those rain chances will be higher. And of course, middle of the week, we'll be back with another update. Take a look and have a closer look what's going to be happening with the weather at the end of the week. So thank you for tuning in with us. Thank you for watching. If you just joined us, want to miss some bits of this, you can rewind it. We'll also be putting a YouTube link on as well. Everybody have a great evening.